Jonathan Holbrook. You're listening to the Movie Raid.
It's time for the Movie Raid, and tonight's victim is Jonathan Holbrook, filmmaker that has done numerous projects such as Tall Men and Beloved Beasts. Hello.
Yeah, hi.
What have we been up to? Not only that, you actually won an award recently. Can you discuss a little bit about that too?
Actually, we've won several awards, but the latest one is from the Olympus Film Festival, and we got Best Horror. Young actress Anaya Lutzis, she got Best Supporting Actress.
Very nice, very nice. And how long has that actually been? For those who have been out of the loop on that, has that been going on for like a month or so? And how many actual nominations did you had to go through in order to win this?
We went through. We've gone through a few. We got done with the film last year, and we just been submitting to film festivals, either hit or miss. The movie is somewhat long. It's almost 3 hours long, and so it's really hard to get into the programming on some of these film festivals. The ones that we get into, we obviously official selection, or we get like Best Director, Best Picture, Best Horror. It's pretty cool.
You mentioned 3 hours long. How does the audience react to that? I mean, usually a lot of movies are just between almost an hour, maybe 90 minutes or less. How do the people react to that? Do they actually get bored, or they're actually more interested in the story even the longer it is?
Well, the horror crowd, they're really a tough crowd. I brand myself as a Holbrookian horror. It's not a typical horror film, more of a character-driven horror. So my films are usually a little bit longer, so I can tell a story. And a lot of my characters have a lot of background to them. So it's very character-driven. It's very stylistic. I think another reason why my films go a little longer too is because the style of it. They're kind of slow burn films. They have a little bit of suspense in them and stuff, but they just have a certain style. I guess you can say I've been compared to maybe David Lynch. My films too, I kind of put things in there that I wouldn't say they're irrelevant, but they're a little bit outside the story too, just kind of add a little bit more flavor to the style. Like, for example, Beloved Beast, it's been compared to like Pulp Fiction meets Halloween, and I guess the reason why that's being said that way is because there's a lot of characters in it. It's kind of an ensemble cast, so it's kind of hard to tell who the lead character is and who the supporting actors are, because everybody kind of has equal part, including Sanaya Lutzis, who we're calling the lead, because she's kind of the counterpart of the lunatic that escapes from the same asylum, and they kind of befriend one another. She brings him home and hides him in the shed, and he kind of becomes her protector.
Very nice, very nice. And with these two films, these are actually on DVD now?
Tall Men is. It's also online. You can get on Amazon Prime, iTunes. Pretty much, it was on Hulu for a while, for 1 year, but they took it off. The contract ran out. But it's mostly Amazon Prime. You can watch it for free. The Beloved Beast got picked up for distribution, and the distributor's saying selected theaters, probably sometime in the middle of the year. Do
you yourself have to go out and actually start trying to get more contracts to get your movies out there further, or do you just waiting to see hopefully somebody picks it up?
What I do is I make film, and then there's a lot of distributors out there where they'll take unsolicited material and they'll take a look at it, and that's how I've gotten pretty lucky. And horror films are probably the easiest type of genre to get distributed. It's such a saturated market. The more original the horror is, probably the easier it's going to get distributed. So, for example, I would turn the film in, distributors, and then you have to wait about 2 to 3 months, and then they finally give you a call and they give you an offer. But Tall Men got about 7 offers, including from sales agents, and I picked the right one. It was picked up by Gravitas Ventures, and we've just been going since.
Very nice.
Yeah, and so, how Beloved Beast got discovered, Indie Pictures picked us up. They found us through Tall Men on IMDb. I guess they were scouting for fresh blood. No pun intended. They asked me about Tall Men. I said, well, it's already been picked up, but I'm almost done with this other film. I'm in post-production right now called Beloved Beast, and I have some trailers if you want to see them. So they took a look at them. They were really interested, and then after I was finished with the film, I sent them the full screener, and they thought it was great. And I had a couple of offers from other distributors, but they were more like schlock horror distributors. So I don't think our film would fit their library. More kind of like slasher films and stuff. The Beloved Beast isn't really a slasher film. It's just like an ensemble cast thriller. It's got a little bit of gore in it and stuff, but nothing like those TNA movies that you see, women running around and the butcher knives are flying. I don't make films like that. So these particular horror distributors, they have a certain type of audience, and I don't think their audience would really like my kind of film. People. There's a lot of audience out there. There's nothing wrong with it, but there's a lot that are just rehashed horror, just slashing a market for it, and people love it. But, when they watch my film, either you love it or you hate it. Sometimes it's got too much story, and there's too much thinking to it or something, and some people just get bored from that. With Beloved Beast, it is kind of a slow burn, but I think we made it interesting enough. We actually had a show, a red carpet event to release the film, and we sold out the theaters, 500 seats. We had an intermission because it was so long. Some people overheard other people saying that they're really surprised how long the movie is, because they feel like they've only watched an hour of it. And a lot of people have told us that, even the reviewers, if you look at some of the reviews, they kind of dread knowing that it's a 3-hour movie, and they go, oh God, and then they watch it. They've already gone, 2 hours of the film, they feel like they've watched it for an hour. Yeah, tell people, so look, if you're going to watch a 3-hour film and you're complaining about it, then why do you binge watch series? Just think of it as a binge watching. But, there's a lot of people out there who like to have a long story, and they really get immersed with the characters and everything. There's an audience for everything.
There are a lot of elements that's used a lot in horror films, the horror genre. Do you think some of these elements, it's actually good to be repetitive in some areas?
I don't think so. Read a plot of films like 6 Friends Out in the Woods or camping and stuff. I turn away from it. I need more of a story. But a lot of the found footage stuff is a lot like that, where they go into the haunted house and then it's possessed and then they all disappear one by one and stuff. The stuff's been done over and over again, and it can get really boring for me. One thing that's really becoming big now, I call it enhanced horror. Did you see the movie Hereditary?
I've been seeing a lot of the trailers, and there was bits and pieces where I thought that drew my interest, but I'm like, I'm still on the fence stuff.
That movie is unsettling. It's mostly just a visual film, visually unsettling, and of course, some of the action and the dialogue is pretty unsettling too. But that's more like a really intense drama with a little bit of creepiness to it, and that's the kind of stuff that I like. They push the envelope a little bit, and they kind of try to mess with your head, and I think that's the kind of stuff that I'm attracted to. It's just the creepiness. You don't have to scare the crap out of me, by putting some big music or something, or somebody jumps out, or the black cat jumps out of the trash can or whatever, in the alley. I don't know, you just mess with the audience's mind and just add a little creepiness to it. That works for me. Is a movie makes me feel unsettled. You know what I mean? Yeah,
and there's got to be a decent balance. Believe it or not, I do firmly believe that there's got to be a balance in every genre. Like, how far can you really take it? I mean, you can tip the scale a little bit, but sometimes, if you're not careful, you're going to go just a little bit too far. Just even a tad too far, you're kind of going to, unsettle the tone of the film, and you're like, wait, what's that all about? Or maybe they might not have interest at all.
Exactly. When you make a film, you're always taking a risk. And like I said, there's something for everybody. I feel like there's not really a right or wrong way of doing, making a film. But it just needs to have an original story to it, for me. But like I said, like when you get a bad critic and stuff, it's all subjective.
Yeah, and of course, even if it's if it's the same story, let's say if it is the same story, I don't mind a little bit of the element being the same, but I want to see how it's transformed. I mean, what can you make it different from the same scene? How can you change this one scene that you've seen in a lot of horror films or a lot of other drama type films? How can you change this up without making it look like the same thing from every half a dozen films from the last 10 decades?
Exactly.
But I mean, like, with a lot of these films, do you think a lot of new age films that are using common practices, do you think that it's too safe?
Yeah, pretty much. The one thing that I don't like about horror films is that, for example, the women are really, there's a lot of women that are weak, and they scream all the time, and they're always running. I think in real life, if somebody's being attacked, they're not going to scream. They're going to try to fight, or they're going to try to get away. Just the blood-curdling screams and stuff, I don't think that would really happen. In my films, the women are pretty strong, and they don't scream at all. Nobody really screams. The actors in my film, there's a certain style of acting that I like. I don't know where I'm going with this, but it's a certain style of the acting where it's not typical. You know what I mean?
Yeah, human reactions. It's like a fear factor, man. There's a difference between fear factor and a scare factor. Fear factor is like where you're just stopped in one place. You don't know what's going on, what that is, how to react, where to go. But when it's a scare factor, just something jumps out and like, ah! You know, I mean, there's a huge difference, and it's always been a problem to me when you mention about the women and all that in horror films. I've always had such a big problem with that because I consider this called genre over gender, because it's so typical and it's such a too easy card to throw that in a horror film, and you're not giving these women credit that they're due. I mean, yes, they can kick some ass too, man. They don't gotta be just the victim. Why don't you make the guy the victim for once?
Yeah, right. Exactly.
I mean, it is so ridiculous to see in this crap, dude. It's like you're repeating the same thing. But again, if you're going to repeat the same thing, man, at least try to transform into something that we haven't seen before. Okay, if this girl is just going to scream her head off, okay, at least give her a weapon, try to fight, or at least some supernatural thing. And maybe a tree a tree spike falls on her freaking face or something. Or something. Maybe she falls in a bear trap or in a bear pit or something. How about she falls in a bear pit and tries to fight and he gets killed while the serial killer just laughs? There we go, right there. That's what I want to see. But like, okay, do you think new age horror films are just too competitive and less strategic in direction?
The newer horror films, you said?
Yeah, I call them new age horror films, yeah, or new age films in general. Do you think they're a little bit becoming more too competitive, more focused on that, and less strategic and actually in a directorial view as the story goes?
You know, that's a hard question to answer because, like I said, with the movie Hereditary or Witch or whatever, you know, I think it depends on the director. You know, James Wan, you know, with The Conjuring and Insidious and all those things, those are very unsettling, and I try to think they're competitive. The thing is with horror, people are running out of ideas, and yeah, I'd say it's somewhat competitive, trying to pick up that new idea that hasn't been done before.
Just because it's a new age film, new age is cool, but it's improved, it's new, it's shiny, but you gotta make sure that it's reformed in a way to where the audience can relate or even relate or react,
yeah.
You know, or even combine both if you can.
Well, you know, I think the biggest problem with a lot of movies these days too is that, you know, we're in the age too that everybody can do it now, as opposed to back in the 80s and 90s where, you know, everybody was still doing film and we just didn't have the technology back then, you know, and I think that when everybody can do it, there's a lot of people out there that just don't know how to do it, or they copy. You know, there are a bunch of copycats and stuff, and they still get distributed. There's just so much content out there. Does that make sense?
Oh, it totally makes sense, man. There's a whole variety of stuff. I mean, every day, dude, every day. There's no such thing as anything running out of anything, man. It's just, there's so much influence out there. You just got to go find it, dog. You got to go find it. I mean, even if it's a fantasy film, dude, there's so much you can play with. Horror films, so much to play with there. You don't have to go to the traditional slasher, you can go with psychological. There's so much you can play with there, man.
Yeah, I think the hard part with doing a horror film is that if you want to make an original horror film, you really need to be thoughtful. You know, you really need to think about, okay, how would this character react, or how would this mess with somebody's head? And I think like the really good directors, they're pretty brave where it hasn't been done before, and they take that risk and they do it. How I usually do it is I think, okay, what creeps me out? You know, that's the thoughtful part of it. Is that you have to kind of think what freaks you out, but it hasn't been done before. In Beloved Beast, there's a crazy aunt, the girl Nina. There's Sanaya Lisa's place. She's orphaned and she has to go. Well, her parents die and she has to be forced to live with her crazy aunt. Personally, for me, crazy women freak me out, and for crazy damaged women, because they're dangerous. You know, and in my opinion, they're dangerous, and I think that's why I liked Aunt Irma in my movie, and I really liked her character because she really freaked me out. Does that make sense?
And exploring that kind of a crazy realm, sure, it's a little terrifying at first, but you know, once you step in there, then you're going to get some kind of an idea. It's like, maybe we can go to this direction and see exactly how, not just yourself, but how can someone else react to the same way you can.
Exactly.
When it comes to the filmmaking, and that you've released several projects already, how do you incorporate your art into a product and keeping it out there like that?
Well, you know, it's just I'm just true to myself, and I've got there's a certain style that I have that I'm branding myself with, and it's more like a cult following. You know, like a lot of the fans that like my stuff, not everybody likes it. You know, like I said, it's just hit and miss. So that's a real hard question to answer because you just never know what people are going to like. But I just try to be as original as I can, try to be true to my own art. I make movies the way I want to see a movie. To answer that question is that being true to myself is like, you know, I really don't make movies for people. I do it for myself. You know, and so, you know, if somebody doesn't like it, I don't really give a crap. I made a movie, and I feel like it's good. So basically, David Bowie did the same thing. He made all these different genre of music and everything like that, but he did the art for himself. He didn't do it for other people, in my opinion. That's what it felt like to me. But I can't talk for any other artist. I'd say that my movies are done for myself.
Yeah, and also it seems like it can be very problematic in today's age, because that can be a factor in its own. It's like, sure, you like to do this film, but then you got the whole, okay, how am I going to like sell this film as a product, or how am I going to get everybody to do this and this and this for this, and then your focus might lose, because you might lose that focus because now you're more concentrating on the product rather than the art form.
Well, that's right. Yeah, so it's kind of a catch-22. Although I'm doing the movie for myself, but I have to think, okay, how are people going to probably react to this? Where I try to make it as realistic as possible for the reactions. And, with Beloved Beasts, it really worked. Watching the reactions from the audience, they like the jokes and everything, the subtle jokes that I put in there and stuff, people loved it. And they responded the way I responded to it. So I really feel good about Beloved Beasts, more than Tall Men, because Tall Men is kind of out there, and you're going to have to, either you like it or hate it. But I think Beloved Beasts, I made it a little bit more mainstream with people. From my experience at the red carpet event, people responded to it really well. And I think people relate to it more. I think it's because there's so much dysfunction in this world, and there's so much dysfunction in this film, family dysfunction. So I think a lot of people could relate to it.
Yeah, that's also another hard thing to do. When you're incorporating that, compared to just making a whole new film, and then you're just throwing a bunch of very random acts here and there, and it's like it can be very unrealistic and not very appealing, but it sure can attract people. But again, are you more relying how the film is going to be put together, or are you worried about who's going to like it and not like it?
Yeah, I think as a director, with the people that I hire on to as the actors and everything, and even the crew, when we have a production meeting, I explain to the actors especially, that there's a certain style to this film, where there's a certain pace, and there's actually a certain cadence that the character's dialogue goes by. When the actors get it, I think the film is good. And I think the audience sees how realistic actors are acting, because the actors get it, and that's a compliment to me too. Which I try to communicate the style and the story as best I can to the actors and the crew. And when they all get it, we're like, we turn into a family, and we all have this bond where we've got it. We just keep moving forward, making the film, and it's all about communication. And I think that's why people responded the way we did, because the actors did a damn good job, and the crew.
Yeah, definitely. It's better to be direct rather than be indirect, so to speak.
If you make a film that has really, really quirky, cool characters, I think people are really going to like it. And I've just been really lucky on this film. We all did it right, because we're getting such a great response and everything. I don't like to sound egotistical. No, I feel really good about this film, and I think everybody else does too. During the shooting, we thought something was going to happen with this film. Sure enough, we got picked up for distribution, and we're getting a lot of response, and a lot of good response. The critics are liking it. There's a couple of critics that hated it because it had too much of a story, or it has irrelevant stories in it. But how it kind of worked is that I had all these multiple stories in Beloved Beast, and the story feeds off the characters. But I think that's why there's so much storytelling. The movie's so long, because there's so much storytelling with all these characters. They all have these different stories, but at the end of the film, they all tie in together. When people are watching it, they want to know what's going to happen next, and then they're completely satisfied at the end of the film, at least the audience that I experienced. They want to know what happened next, and then I think they were pretty satisfied what happened at the end, because everybody has their own story in the film in the beginning, and so you kind of wonder, where is this going? And then it all ties in together at the end.
Totally, man. It sounds really awesome. And go ahead and plug in any websites, any current projects that you are allowed to talk about, or anything that just released, or anything that might be released pretty soon that we can check out.
Oh, hell, I'll talk about anything. Actually, yeah, you can go to my company website. It's called chroniclefactory.com. And you can see some of the short films we've done, and you can see what we're doing. And what kind of got me on the map was the TV series I did back in 2014. It was on Amazon Prime for a while. Then we took it off because of legal reasons, because we wanted to break away from the distributor that picked us up. We wanted to revamp the series, and we're still thinking about doing it, but went like wildfire. It went crazy. It was kind of a cross between Twin Peaks and The Walking Dead, or Body Snatchers, I guess you could say. So it's when Walking Dead was really big. So it's kind of a zombie-esque type, but they don't eat people and stuff. They just kind of stand still. It's kind of weird. I like the weird stuff. But people thought it was really original and really creepy, and so it took off. When we released the first 3 episodes, it started out as a web series. People were telling us that the episodes were too short because as they got really into it, they were like 10-minute episodes. And so we took the episodes and we combined them to make them more 30-minute episodes. But anyway, that kind of put me on the map. Chronicle Factory started getting a following, and then we did Tallman, and then our fan base has been growing. And then we did Beloved Beast, I think, and which we feel like that might be our breakout film. So we'll see what happens. You just never know. Yeah, because when you're an independent filmmaker, you're not making any money. You make a few bucks here and there, but it's not like you make $1 million or anything like that. I have, outside of filming, I'm a logistics purchasing agent, for a company, for a construction company. And I used to drive truck and everything, and so I actually have a day job, and so we film on the weekends. I have a future project coming up. We did a short film called Gray Space, and we won a few awards and stuff, and people were asking us more about the characters and everything, and they wanted to know if there was going to be maybe a feature film. And we kind of thought about it, and the questions kept coming, are you going to make a feature? So we decided, okay, let's make a feature. We're making a feature film based on Gray Space, and it's going to be called Overbite. It's going to be kind of a vampire-esque. We're going to put a different twist on the vampirism. Definitely original and weird.
Very nice. That is Jonathan Holbrook.